Practical astrology, a simple method of casting horoscopes, the language of the stars, easily comprehended by Comte de Saint-Germain, author of the study of palmistry for professional purposes, practical hypnotism, practical palmistry, etc., unfolding the wonderful wisdom of the Chaldean, Egyptian, Greek, and Arabian astrologers without any of the complicated, discouraging operations required by other methods. With a history of astronomy and numerous illustrations and portraits especially designed for this work. Preface. This volume is intended to fill a want not yet covered by works published on the subject. The methods usually employed involve calculations with the longitudes and latitudes of the moon, the declinations of the planets, etc., or they are based on strange theories often discouraging to the reader. In this book, the material with which the astrologer works is made familiar to the student in the most systematic and easy manner, while the art of casting horoscopes is reduced to a set of operations as simple as that of consulting a dictionary. This is accomplished by numerous diagrams and tables and by a full interpretation of the arcanes, those wonderful old symbols. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy, says Hamlet. Astrology today, denounced by scientists, may be in universal favor tomorrow. It certainly is an instructive and interesting study from which even the skeptic may derive an amusing diversion. That the book may prove a welcome help to all, whether they believe in the strange and fascinating language of the stars or not, is the sincere wish of the publishers. Tycho Brahe, in his beautiful observatory Uraniborg, built by him on the island of Hven, Denmark, 1580. In the foreground is seen the famous mural quadrant. Practical Astrology, Chapter 1. What is astrology? Among all the sciences and arts which claim justly or not to reveal man or woman's nature and to open the mysterious book of the future, there is none more justified in its pretensions than the oldest of all the sciences, the science of astrology. Its antiquity and the high standing of the men who have believed implicitly in its revelations force even the most skeptical to grant it a certain amount of the respect which they begrudge to palmistry, cartomancy, the reading of the future in cards, or phrenology, although it might seem to the unbeliever as if the great progress of modern astronomy had removed from their proud position the astronomers of ancient Assyria, Egypt, and Greece. It so happens that the more recent discoveries among the ruined tombs of the early Egyptian kings, built some 4,800 years before Christ, have furnished us with the most positive proofs that the great astrologers of those days were almost as deeply conversant with the principles of our solar system as the astronomers of the present century, allowance being made, of course, for the fact that they had no telescopes to assist them in their researches in the firmament. Now the Chaldean, Egyptian, and Greek astronomers were also astrologers. That is to say, while understanding in the main the positions of the stars and planets as correctly as we do since the rediscoveries of Kepler, Copernicus, and Newton, they also believed that these heavenly bodies exert over every human being a powerful influence for good or evil, from the day of birth to the hour of death, an influence which, of course, personal conduct will strengthen or decrease. In our time of skepticism and agnosticism, it is not strange that the claims of astrology are laughed at, but it's certainly a study that has lost none of the powerful fascination which it has exerted over the greatest men throughout the 7,000 or 8,000 years of which we know anything, and the vast number of well-authenticated fulfillments of prophecies by astrologers will surely go far to prove that astrology is entitled to the name of science. From among the thousands of cases of successful predictions by astrologers, we mention here two which are as remarkable as they are true. The first instance we cite from Bacon's Essay of Prophecies. When I was in France, I heard from one Dr. Penna that the Queen Mother, who was given to curious arts, caused the king, her husband's nativity to be calculated under a false name, and the astrologer gave a judgment that he should be killed in a duel, at which the queen laughed, thinking her husband to be above challenges and duels, but he was slain upon a course at tilt, the splinters of the lance of Montgomery piercing his neck. The second, a most singular prophecy by one of the most brilliant astronomers of the 16th century, Tycho Brahe, whose picture ornaments this volume, see page 278. In 1577, there was a comet visible, from the observation of which Brahe deduced a clear proof that the sky was not a solid vault, and from the appearance and course of which he predicted that in the north, in Finland, there should be born a prince who should lay waste Germany and vanish in 1632. Gustavus Adolphus, King of Sweden, was born in Finland, overran Germany, and when he was killed in 1632 in the Battle of Lutzen, his dead body was never found. Whoever has read Milton's Paradise Lost will remember his innumerable references to planetary influences. Wallenstein, the great captain and adversary of Gustavus Adolphus, undertook no important work without first consulting Seni, his astrologer, and it is well known that Napoleon I firmly believed in his star. Chapter 2. The Planets and the Zodiac. The heavenly bodies that are of influence over the destinies of human beings, and consequently over all human affairs, will be given in this volume, together with their relations to each other and their various combinations, which, as astronomy teaches us, have recurred in regular intervals from time immemorial. We shall find the influence of each star, of each constellation, and of each combination, based on the experience of thousands of years. We shall find elaborate tables worked out with infinite patience by the old astrologers, and exceedingly helpful to the student. The directions for using them are simple and plain, and can be understood and followed by a child, as are also those for the use of the arcanes, a marvelous inheritance from the ancient wizards in the shape of 78 mysterious tarots, which were probably originally devised by the old masters as aids in teaching their art, and which are interesting study by themselves. Astronomy teaches us that there are two classes of heavenly bodies, fixed stars and planets. The first are as many suns at enormous distances from the Earth, our own particular sun being not the largest but the nearest. The other class of stars are called planets on account of their roaming habits, which are not, however, in any way erratic, since they follow regular routes over stated tracks called their orbits. The Earth is a planet and takes 365 days and a fraction to cover its orbit around the Sun, its central ruler. The other large planets known to us are, in the order of the nearness to the Sun, our common center: first Mercury, second Venus, third Moon, fourth Mars, fifth Jupiter, sixth Saturn. The Moon, which revolves around the Earth and with the Earth around the Sun, and on account of its nearness has a strong influence. If we now add that a large number of fixed stars visible to the naked eye have been grouped from time immemorial into 12 combinations called the constellations of the Zodiac, we shall have an exact idea of the various celestial elements that furnish the necessary data for complete and accurate astrological readings, or horoscopes, this being one of the first terms you must become familiar with. So far we have not used any words or statements that are not used in every primer on astronomy, and the definition of the zodiac which follows is also accepted by modern science, although dating back to the very dawn of human history. The zodiac is the imaginary route which the sun travels around the earth during a period of 1 year. We write imaginary because it's recognized nowadays that it's the earth that is traveling around the sun and not the sun around the earth. But this manner of expressing the idea being in constant use had better be adhered to for the present. Now as the sun travels around the earth, it seems to be entering every 30 days among a new set of stars or constellation, which ever since man began to take delight in contemplating the skies have been known to be the successive monthly dwellings of the sun, called the signs of the zodiac. Before proceeding further, it is therefore proper for us to give you the accepted names of the signs of the zodiac and the exact periods during which these constellations exert their influence over the earth and the inhabitants of it. So here you can see the chart. The astrological year begins with the spring equinox on March 21st. Thus, the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, the ram, reigns from March 21st to April 19th. The second sign, Taurus, the bull, reigns from April 20th to May 19th. The third sign, Gemini, the twins, reigns from May 20th to June 18th. The fourth sign, Cancer, the crab, reigns from June 19th to July 23rd. The fifth sign, Leo, the lion, reigns from July 24th till August 22nd. The sixth sign, Virgo, the virgin, reigns from August 23rd to September 21st. The seventh sign, Libra, the balance, reigns from September 22nd to October 21st. The eighth sign, Scorpio, the scorpion, reigns from October 22nd to November 20th. The ninth sign, Sagittarius, the archer, reigns from November 21st to December 20th. The 10th sign, Capricorn, the sea goat, reigns from December 21st to January 19th. The 11th sign, Aquarius, the water bearer, reigns from January 20th to February 18th. The 12th sign, Pisces, the fishes, reigns from February 19th to March 20th. The divisions of these 12 periods are called degrees and not days. As the student has doubtless already noticed, there are 30 degrees days in each sign, except in Cancer, where there are 35 degrees days to complete the regular cycle of 365 days composing the solar year. These 5 extra degrees or days are called epigomines. Probably I pronounced that wrong. We cannot in this short work give the reasons for these various arrangements, all very logical when fully understood. It would take too much time and space and only confuse the student, who at present is solely looking for simple rules that he may apply himself successfully. This second chapter, with the illustration that accompanies it, has indicated to him the first astrological elements with which he must make himself absolutely familiar if he wants to proceed smoothly in his study of the strange and most curious science. The symbol or written mark by which each sign of the zodiac is invariably indicated in astrological illustrations and horoscopes is given in our illustration next to the name of the sign it corresponds to, and again in the next chapter at the head of each of the 12 divisions devoted to the signs of the zodiac and the types that proceed from them. Now you can see the chart of the principal constellations of the northern sky and the principal constellations of the southern sky. Chapter 3. The Signs of the Zodiac. As explained to you in the preceding chapter, the zodiac is the zone of the heavens whereon are to be found the various omens or predictions which are to constitute a primary horoscope. The great importance ascribed to the zodiac by all the astronomers of the most ancient times is proved by the elaborate and artistic representations of it, which are still to be found in Eastern countries such as China, India, and Egypt. Our frontispiece pictures one of the most famous of these hewn in stone. These 12 equal divisions of the zodiac are called signs. Each of them is itself divided into 30 degrees or days, and every one was born in one of these degrees. The first thing to know, therefore, is the ancient meaning of each of the signs and the type peculiar to the human beings born under it. I shall give in this chapter a summary of the leading features belonging to the signs. Before doing so, however, I will state that the signs have been classed into 4 groups, or trinocracies, according to their dominant characteristics. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius are fiery signs. Taurus, Virgo, Capricornus are earthy signs. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius are airy signs. Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio are watery signs. And now you can see the illustration on this page, which indicates this division by means of triangles. Later, I shall have the occasion to more fully explain the importance of this classification. I begin now the enumeration of the peculiarities and omens special to each of the signs. It is the basis of all further study and must therefore be given most serious attention. First, Aries, the ram. The constellation Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, exerts its influence from March 21st to April 19th, the period coinciding with the first month of the Roman year. It endows those born during this period with simple, unaffected manners, with an obedient disposition, and yet with a capacity for commanding, a duality of qualities frequently met with plenty of enterprising audacity, with a lofty charitable soul, with a generous heart that will meet with few grateful returns, with a firm will, a superior mind, quick, brilliant, courageous, but not lacking in prudence, with religious tendencies, often with artistic talents, with plenty of clever ingenuity, a natural gift for business, a rather combative spirit, tempered, however, with eclecticism, the power of learning from others. The will, although steadfast, may vary in its object, in its plans. He will have a taste for outdoor sports, especially hunting. He will aspire to the highest honors and will not be daunted by the difficulties in his way. Should he choose a military career, he would make success of it and gain rapid promotion. This sign endows one with aptitudes more varied than profound. It renders eloquent. The love affairs of one born under the sign will be sudden, full of fancies, and of short duration. The subjects of Aries will get easily into passions of rage, but the fire will burn itself quickly out and leave behind no rancor or grudge. They will forget in an instant the injury done to them. The opinions of the subject, be they of a religious or political character, will be very strong and ardent for a time, but that time will be short. He will pass through many changes in his financial status. He will own much real estate, especially country property that will come to him through marriage. He will have to stand many difficulties and lawsuits in reference to these estates. Women's preferences and an inheritance will bring him most of what he will ever own, but he will be lucky in his business partnerships. He will probably be an only child or become such by the death of brothers and sisters. In childhood, there will be troubles or disasters in the family of the subject that may upset his career. If the birth takes place between midnight and noon, the subject will lose his father early in life. Much traveling will be rendered necessary by family matters or to escape enmities. The subject will make balloon ascensions or at least climb mountains. At the ages of 7, 19, 30, 44, the subject's family will meet with trouble, or he himself will run dangerous due to his own relatives. By his own fault, the subject will shorten the duration of his life. He will have to struggle against many unforeseen and dreadful incidents that will place him in great peril. Aries announces many conjugal disagreements and often broken partnerships. There will be very few children, if any. The subject will rise after many obstacles to high positions of trust and honor, but will not keep them, as he will be the victim of the bitterest envy. The subject will marry too young. There will be danger of inconstancy in the marriage relations. The professions that will probably be chosen by the persons born under the sign are the army, the bar, and mining engineering. Should the birth take place between the hours of noon and midnight, the friends of the subject will greatly exert themselves pushing him to the front, and he will reach high positions. If he is in the church, a bishopric may come to him. He will have many and devoted friends, with a dangerous traitor among them. Many also will be his enemies, all envious of his success, but these enmities will not last long. The physical temperament of the subject will be nervous sanguine if he is born in a southern climate, or bilious sanguine if he is born in northern latitude. See page 75. The constellation Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac, the bull. Exerts its influence from April 20 to May 19. It endows the persons born during this period with a stubborn disposition. It makes them rebellious to advice, exaggerately proud, difficult of approach, and fond of opposition to the point of starting a controversy or a fight for the sole purpose of coming out victorious. Slow to get excited and slow to calm down, the subjects of Taurus will harbor a grudge for a long time and will be hard to reconcile. Of course, all these idiosyncrasies may be modified, even overcome by surroundings, education, etc. We are only enumerating here inborn tendencies or instincts that can always be fought against and triumphed over. This sign gives the subject a mind straightforward, just, inquisitive, and shrewd. It makes him hard to fathom and endows him with the essential qualities of a diplomat. The impressions when received are violent but changeable, the passions fiery but not persistent. The subjects whom the sign influences are generally very much attached to their sentiments and their opinions. They are taciturn and tenacious. Their will is steady, persevering, and determined to reach its end at almost any cost. They are fit to command, to govern. There is a great probability that their brain power will prove of so superior a kind that they will be carried up to celebrity almost unwittingly. Sometimes the sign of Taurus gives the subject a taste of agriculture. It is certainly conducive to a liking for choice food, while it renders the subject patient in all his undertakings and fond of a well-earned repose of mind and body. The subjects of Taurus are essentially conservative in their ideas, their actions, and even their ambition toward high offices. In love matters they are, with many exceptions, of a fickle yet jealous disposition. The sign always brings about severe struggles. Also illnesses caused either by excess of work or by a too great indulgence in good living. There will be a gathering of an important amount of personal property, but it will be in some danger of being frittered away, either by lawsuits or by loss of employment or through intrigues out of wedlock. However, unexpected gifts of valuable property are among the possibilities. They will be inspired by some devoted affection. Certainly, the financial affairs of the subject will be improved by people who love him. Thus, an inheritance from a dear friend is indicated as probable. If the subject's birth is nocturnal, that is, has taken place between the hours of midnight and noon, the sign of Taurus foretells that his father will be a man of some importance, either by his rank, by his fortune, or by his talents in art, literature, etc. Brothers and sisters will be the causes of much serious trouble. The subject will have to take a very long journey on account of one of these blood relations. Many travels are to be expected. If the subject is born between midnight and noon, one of these journeys will prove very dangerous, perhaps fatal. The sign must induce the subject to take great care of his children, especially his firstborn. If it's a boy, he runs great dangers in his boyhood. Otherwise, the children will give great satisfaction and distinguish themselves in a scientific career, at the bar, or in industrial pursuits. Still, the subject will have periods of sad disappointment with them. The greater part of the subject's life will be peaceful and eventless. His main troubles will arise from difficulties. The subject's inborn stubbornness will cause him to grate himself, or at any rate to magnify greatly. This sign announces the following diseases as being in store for the subject: splenetic and plethoric troubles at 11, 23, 35 years of age. Besides, as the weak organs of the subject will be the kidneys and the liver, he must watch for the incipient symptoms of the stone and diseases of the spine. Let him beware of wounds from sharp instruments or from quadrupeds. There is a sorrow or a death predicted in relation with the subject's marriage. While his position will be very modest in his youth, he may reach great fortune and celebrity due to his talents in the line of the fine arts, or his discoveries in the realm of physics. There will be many friends to brighten the life of the Taurus subject, but none of them of the steadfast kind, and most of them undesirable. Both the so-called friends and the subject's relatives will cause him many disappointments. The enmities he will encounter will be fortunately of the open kind and not of the hidden and treacherous variety. The constellation Taurus always promises a long life, provided excesses of all kinds be avoided. The many perils through which the subject will pass, he may escape the worst consequences of, since they will be, so to speak, in full sight and known in advance. The physical temperament of the Taurus subject will be bilious, sanguine in a southern latitude, and lymphatic, nervous in a northern clime. Third, Gemini, the twins. The constellation Gemini, the third of the zodiac, exerts its influence from May 20 to June 18. It endows the subject born during this period with probity, a pleasing, accommodating disposition, a temper quickly irritated but just as quickly calmed down, showing but little violence in its outbursts, and a great promptitude in manifesting repentance. The sign of Gemini often promises some kind of celebrity. It gives the subject natural inventive genius, and with it a love of science for its own sake. It urges him to follow scientific researches, especially in the line of mathematics, and often makes him an orator or an author. It endows him also with some talents for commerce, with a saving disposition and moderation in the use of all things. It renders him scrupulously honest, fair-minded and noble-hearted. He will possess a subtle, quick-seeing mind, an easy-flowing mode of speech, but the latter quality will manifest itself only when the subject is talking about some favorite topic of his. Otherwise, he is rather reserved, even to taciturnity, and often suffers strange perplexities and hesitations when the moment to act has arrived. The expression of his will is firm, sometimes too affirmative, but without tyrannical tendencies and without roughness. Besides the scientific talents mentioned above, Gemini also gives a taste for fine arts, for music, especially the study of harmony, counterpoint, etc. In the scientific line, chemistry will be a prime favorite. The wealth acquired by the practice of the talents above mentioned will lead the subject to many ups and downs, which at times will leave him almost in want, when at other moments his fortune will be quite large. It will be the same as to the positions occupied by him. They will lack stability, now very brilliant, now again of the humblest. These fluctuations will all be due to the subject's own acts. This sign always foretells family secrets and family disagreements. Great trials will have to be gone through on account of or caused by the subject's father. Numerous will be the subject's children. Some enmity will unfortunately be developed among them and against their father or mother or both. The diseases that will be most threatening are bladder troubles, epidemic fevers, malaria. Great perils will be incurred through quadrupeds, also from venomous bites and from enemies bent on serious mischief. The subject's family, his employees or servants, will show themselves painfully and actively unfriendly toward him. Great sorrows, troubles, and disappointments will be caused by love affairs. There will be several marriages or long attachments in the subject's life. He will have friends of all sorts and conditions, several of whom will turn his bitter enemies. Toward the middle life, he will meet with persistent obstacles to his success and legitimate promotion. They will be brought about by enmities to be found in the church or in the law profession. He will be to blame for the fact that these persons will be his enemies. The position occupied by the subject and constituting his life work will often be of a dual nature. He will constantly attempt to run two things at once, hence many complications in his social relations. A disastrous betrayal is to be feared. This sign foretells the existence of persistent, often armed enemies. The subject may even be waylaid. He will have cause to suspect his immediate associates, his relatives by marriage. He will suffer cruelly from tireless calumnies, from low intrigues relating to secrets in his family or that of his wife. Gemini always announces events of a violent nature, but Providence may save the subject from their worst consequences. The subject will have sanguine bilious constitution in a southern latitude and a bilious nervous temperament in northern one. 4. Cancer, the crab. The constellation Cancer, the fourth of the zodiac, exerts its influence from June 19 to July 23, including the 5 epigomenies or supplementary degrees. It always gives to the subject a most agitated, restless existence, but a life of power and incessant activity. Cancer endows the subjects it influences with a taciturn disposition, with a searching mind and good morals, pure even to austerity. Their imagination of a rich creative character will be in love with the fantastic. Added to it will be a great aptitude for assimilation, so that the subject will be ever ready to act in real life the part of the particular hero for whom his imagination, his dreams, or his readings will have given him a temporary fancy. The mood will be changeable, capricious, fickle to a degree, and the intercourse with others will suffer on that account, although the subject himself will not greatly care. An unquenchable thirst for sympathy will make him attach himself to a new fancy as fast as the preceding one will lose its attraction. This sign renders one discreet, independent, open-minded, and versatile. The moon, who has its throne in this constellation, gives the subject sometimes the appearance of a most phlegmatic individual, and again it shows him up as a most reasonably irritable fellow. Both states of the mind are due to excessive impressionability and sensitiveness. Those born under Cancer are quick in body and mind, clever in business matters, and fit to command. They are ambitious to obtain wealth, honors, and all the good things of life, and Cancer helps them to succeed. while it gives them decided religious tendencies. Women born under the sign are both hard workers and imperious. Eclecticism and general versatility are among the gifts of Cancer. The complex influences that proceed from the sign, and which are more helpful to those who are born between midnight and noon, may render the subject either brave or cowardly according to circumstances and surroundings. The same individual may show himself one day suspicious or simply prudent to excess, and the next morning, influenced by the phases of the moon, he may prove extravagantly thoughtless, absent-minded, and fanciful. These qualities are the causes of sudden but weak and short-lived fits of anger of the subject. In reality, it's only assumed anger which will vanish like smoke. Wealth will be often very hard to collect, and the inherited patrimony may be recklessly squandered either by relatives or by children of the subject. Losses at the gaming table or in speculation or through thieves are to be expected, but in the latter part of life the chances to become rich are excellent. During his youth, the subject will meet with obstacles to his chosen vocation and have troubles from near relations. He is threatened with an early loss of brothers or with quarreling with them. He may have a second or adopted family outside of his own. His children will cause him much anxiety. It will be hard for him to settle them in life, with the exception of the eldest one, however, who will reach a high position. The subject's kindred will push him energetically in the career he will finally select. Many will be the vicissitudes and worries of the subject, some of them of a mysterious nature, but at the hour of the most desperate crisis, unexpected assistance will come up providentially. The sign gives one a repulsion against marriage and renders it, if entered into, quite unsatisfactory. The subject may inherit property from a first wife, but a lawsuit will be connected with it. Travels will be long and profitable. One of them will make the subject comparatively famous, and he will emerge all right out of the perils and struggles he may encounter in these journeys. Some changes of residence will prove injurious to the health and to the pocket on account of undesirable acquaintances or hidden enemies. Even ambushes are to be feared, especially at the age of 14, 26, or 38. Toward the 35th year, the subject's position will be changed from good to bad or vice versa. After that age, it will be much more steady. The subject will have many friends and protectors, especially among persons of the other sex. One of these patrons will run a great danger of total ruin, which will have a disastrous effect upon the subject. At the age of 20, 32, and 44, there will be great peril resulting from secret intrigues of declared enemies or traitors among the subject's trusted friends. Cancer generally gives the people born under it excellent health. Should they be ill, the parts of the body to be affected will be lungs, and in general the breathing organs. Wounds inflicted by the hands of man are foretold. This sign gives the subject a lymphatic bilious temperament in a southern climate and a lymphatic nervous disposition in a northern latitude. Fifth, Leo, the lion. The constellation Leo, the fifth of the zodiac, exerts its influence from July 24th to August 22nd. Ptolemy of Pelusia, surnamed the King of Astrologers, said that the subjects born under this beneficent influence will reach positions of honor and trust. Leo gives to those born under its influence a lofty mind, a spirit of fair play, an unbending dignity, and a warm and generous heart. The willpower of the subject will be firm, enterprising, and persevering. It will aim straight at the object desired, but secure it only by honest and above-board methods. The mind will be steadfast, virile, proud, simple, and liberal. with great brilliancy that may render it sometimes egotistic and presumptuous, but never lacking in gratitude for an act of helpful kindness. The impulses and instincts will be always held within control. The temper will be kindly, though firm, courageous, and magnanimous. In the difficult moments of life, anger may be quickly aroused, but it will harm no one and cool down almost at once. Good will invariably be returned for evil. This will be the only kind of revenge practiced by the subject. This sign induces one to love steadfastly. The affections will be constant, although forgetfulness may occur in case of prolonged absence. The special aptitudes of the subject will be of a soldierly character. He will be quite successful in all open-air sports, patient in all kinds of labor, and admirably adapted to command. This sign does not endow the subject with many varied abilities, but those granted him will be of the best, often approaching perfection. Leo gives a taste for pleasures and luxury. Those born under the sign have nothing but disdain for the honors they are destined to reap almost without efforts. The subject's inclinations will be strong and yet well reasoned out. His opinions will be fixed, passionate, sometimes exaggerated, and when he decides on a certain course of action, he will follow it to the end, at all risks. Those born under the sign will acquire by their own merit a good deal of property, besides what will come to them through relatives or influential friends. But their losses will be heavy and sudden, due to either gambling or speculation or imprudent loans. They may suffer from cruel spoliation, family property being taken from them quite unjustly. The death of a near relative will greatly compromise their pecuniary interests and their position. They will be shabbily treated in money matters by brothers and sisters or other close relations. Even their parents may ruin their hopes of brilliant promotion. During a short journey rendered necessary by the subject's position, he will have to fear some personal danger. The upper part of the body, the head, and the shoulders especially may be severely hurt. Violent quarrels with relatives will be caused by a division of property or by family secrets or by prolonged absence of the subject. The father of the subject will be in peril of his life on a journey. There will be many children coming to the subject who will have the sorrow of losing the eldest one. If the subject is a woman, she will probably be the mother of twins, or she may have children of two successive husbands. When these children will be grown up, they will give her trouble. Long and complicated diseases are threatening. The woman born under Leo will have great troubles in and resulting from childbirth. Servants and employees of the subject will be the cause of constant worries. Leo always announces family disagreements. Several unforeseen legacies or even inheritances will render easier the circumstances of the subject, and especially of his children, who often will be the beneficiaries. There is a probability, however, that relatives may succeed in diverting these windfalls away from the subject and his family. The subject will make but few sea voyages. The first one will be detrimental to his interests and a source of losses. His position will demand frequent voyages on land. One of these will prove highly advantageous and bring about a sudden change for the better. The offices coming to the subject will be the offices of great honor, but small emoluments. He may grievously compromise his chances in that direction or even forfeit these valued prizes in an instant by some most unfortunate and thoughtless moves. He will enjoy some reputation, even marked celebrity, through his own merit and without the help of any outside protection. It may be in the sciences or the fine arts that he will find his true sphere and make a shining success. As said above, the ruin of these promising prospects will be due either to an unfortunate voyage or to a rash act on the part of the subject. His friends will be many, but of little assistance, even if their fortune and position be such as to give them the means to be of great use. On the contrary, they will probably cause the subject some heavy financial losses. His few enemies will be declared ones. Low and cowardly intrigues against him will prove so invariably unsuccessful that he will soon be free from such attacks. Leo gives those born under it a nervous, sanguine temperament, a remarkably fine health, and a long life. However, the subject may be attacked by inflammatory rheumatism, located especially in the knees, pneumonia, and in general troubles of the respiratory organs, and troubles of the spleen and the bladder are also among the possibilities. Wounds, if any, will affect the feet and hands. According to the old astrologers, Leo, containing the throne of the sun, is always the prognostic of a fine fortune and a lofty position. Virgo, the Virgin, the sixth sign. The constellation of Virgo, the sixth of the zodiac signs, exerts its influence from August 23rd to September 21st. Those born within this period will reach honors through their personal merit. This sign bestows on them a cool reason, a spirit of equity, a merciful disposition, and a taste for everything that is honest and straightforward. The moral nature of the subject will be mild, modest, amiable, confiding, and yet not easily fathomed. His willpower, although comparatively firm, may be influenced through sentimental motives. He will be intelligent, ingenious, but above all moved by his feelings, to which he will remain passionately attached. He will be slow to anger and slow to quiet down, although his wrath will never harm anyone. He will be moved to repentance quickly and deeply. Virgo gives people born under it a taste for cloister life, a love of divine thoughts, or in a lower plane, an inclination toward the liberal arts and the gift of persuasive eloquence. To the taste for art, the subject will add a liking for agriculture or horticulture and a mild mania for collecting things. He will show a real aptitude for the higher sciences and deeper studies. All his tastes will be under his control and his opinions easily changed. Those born under Virgo run serious physical dangers from their earliest babyhood and all through childhood. It is almost an invariable fact that they will have the greatest difficulty to acquire even moderate means, and this small competence will be constantly threatened during the first part of their lives. Later they will be luckier financially and recover some family property. Although the sign foretells wealth due to the hard work and intelligence of the subject applied in the field of science and art, or through successful inventions, or thanks to some high office connected with the church, still, by the fault of the subject himself, there is a strong probability of his losing suddenly that, either money or position, which he will have acquired through such long and laborious efforts. Travels may be the cause of some large addition to the subject's fortune. Relatives near or distant will prove rather harmful than otherwise. The subject may have many brothers and sisters, but there will be no harmony between them, and he will lose several of them at an early age, probably in a violent manner. There will be sad and grave family secrets, either on account of irregular unions or through divorces or separations. There is here a prognostic of sudden losses of children, either through a fall from a high place, or through drowning, or through quadrupeds. Virgo always announces some violent happenings, great obstacles in love matters, serious lawsuits, dissensions between friends or relatives, between husband and wife, even divorces. Let us say here that unions and marriages are expressed by the same indications in astrology and must be understood aright by the parties interested. The struggle for life will be particularly hard for those born under the sign, but after painful efforts and many disappointments, the subjects of Virgo generally triumph. Better late than never ought to be their motto. They will have decided religious tendencies. The Virgo subject will have a chance to marry twice, but his second union will be the cause of a great upheaval in his existence. It may be for his good, and again it may prove disastrous. Few inheritances will come the way of the subject. Those that will be within his reach will be acquired only after long and disagreeable law proceedings. The subject may have to undertake, generally against his will, long travels, either to try his fortune in a foreign country or to fill a mission of importance with or in obedience to the orders of some great man. But travel he will surely and frequently. It will be a hard pull for him to succeed, since he will have only his own self to depend upon, but he will succeed and reach a high position in the world. He may even acquire riches through his intelligence and activity, but if he does get wealthy, it will be on account of the dangerous profession or occupation he will have selected. It may be the result of perilous experimenting in the realm of physics, for which he will be particularly well adapted. His friends will be very few, very uncertain and of little use to him. A few pleasant acquaintances met in his travels will be among the least undesirable of his associates, but he will soon lose track of them. The subject will have secret enemies in the world of art, or in the financial marts, or among business leaders. They will cause him numerous heavy losses, especially through bad investments. In southern climates, Virgo gives those born under it a lymphatic, bilious temperament. In northern climates, their constitution will be lymphatic nervous. The weaker spots will be the stomach, the liver, and the legs. 7th, Libra, the balance. This constellation Libra, the 7th of the signs of the Zodiac, also called the scales, exerts its influence from September 22nd to October 21st. It endows those born under its influence with great gentleness, straightforwardness, and pure moral principles. It renders the soul merciful and the heart affectionate and constant. The disposition is frank, open, confiding, slightly melancholy. Anger is easily aroused and rapidly quieted down again. This sign causes indecision in opinions and in actions. It bestows upon one inventive genius, a special aptitude for mechanical arts and sciences, and for navigation. But all these gifts will not profit the subject. The willpower, although plentiful, knows not how to bring about final results. The subjects of Libra are prone to study, handy with tools, as well as quick at figures, but care little for the fine arts except music, being devoted heart and soul to business. Otherwise, in the choice of their pleasures, they show refinement. Their passions are deep and honest. They are changeable in their opinions, although strongly attached for a time to the idea or theory that rules over them temporarily. Toward the middle of his life, the subject born under Libra will make a fortune, thanks to some industry connected with navigation, or at least with water as motive power. He will have to defend his wealth in court. A great lawsuit, which he will ultimately win, will create bitter enmities, perhaps even a serious disagreement between him and his spouse or partner. He will have many brothers and sisters, some of them by a second wife of the father or by a second husband of the mother. These blood relations will be constantly at odds between themselves and with the subject. He may have some trouble with his parents, especially with his father, who will lack the paternal fiber. If the subject is born between noon and midnight, there is a risk of his losing his father early in life. Few children will come to him, and one of them will be the cause of great anxieties. Family relations will be frequently disturbed. There is a prognostic of a second family, perhaps an adopted one, or the subject himself may be the object of adoption. Diseases characterized by a flow of some kind are to be expected. The weak organs of those born under Libra are the bowels and the bladder. The hands and feet are threatened with wounds. The sign which presides over marriage in the arrangement of the zodiacal constellations is Aries in house 7. It is fickle, violent in temper, and barren. It is directly opposed to Libra, but unsatisfactory as this position is, the subject will gain riches through marriage. Through the death of the spouse, he will make a large inheritance totally unexpected. Those born under the sign had better beware of sea voyages. They will prove dangerous and never profitable. Toward middle age, there is a threat of loss of position and a warning that the mother of the subject may be the cause, direct or indirect, of this disastrous happening. The subject has in prospect the probabilities of reaching some high and honored position. His relatives will assist him in his ambitions. He will possess protectors and friends among the great people of this world. They will show themselves steadfast, assist him to a brilliant marriage, lend him their moral and material support in matters of business, and yet it will come to pass that, willingly or not, the subject will do grievous harm to one of these powerful friends. He will meet with serious enmity on the part of certain clergymen on account of family matters. Other enemies will come up among lawyers and men of learning. An ancient tradition says that the persons born under the sign will be the cause of their own troubles and perhaps of their death. In southern latitudes, the subjects of Libra are naturally sanguine bilious. In northern climates, they are nervous bilious. 8. Scorpio, the Scorpion. This constellation, Scorpio, the 8th of the Zodiac, exerts its influence from October 22 to November 20. It endows the subject born during this period with a mind at the same time shrewd, persuasive, fickle, capricious, dreamy, poetical, and often religiously inclined. He has a firm hold upon himself, and his willpower is steadfast and persevering. The temper is fiery, bellicose, and easily aroused, somewhat rough and even violent, but never unkindly so. There is a love of danger for its own sake. This sign renders those born under it phlegmatic, taciturn, and close-mouthed. They are often tinged with misanthropy. Slow to move to anger, they are also slow to forgive. They keep a deep feeling of resentment, and as their wrath cools down, it becomes almost more dangerous, for in their revengeful spirit they are relentless and act quickly and recklessly. If the phlegmatic tendency is the predominant symptom, they oppose their adversary by the mere force of inertia. If they are not toned down by education and proper surroundings, the subjects of Scorpio are quarrelsome and fond of seeking trouble with or without cause. This constellation renders those born under it skillful and patient in all kinds of work. It gives them a love of architecture, for simple country pleasures, and withal a thirst for honors. In their opinions they are stubborn, rarely amenable to reason, and disagreeably aggressive. This sign gives little prosperity in the first part of life, but promises plenty of it in mature years. Unexpected gains will accrue at that time of life. They may come from matters connected with religious worship, or be the result of long journeys. An inheritance is also among the most serious probabilities. Scorpio always brings fortune in its train. The subject will have few brothers, if any. One of them is threatened with a fatal accident, either through a fall or through drowning. If the subject is born between midnight and noon, his father will suffer complete ruin in his position and fortune. Scorpio always gives to his subjects a numerous progeny. Malignant fevers contracted across the sea will threaten the subject's life. He will also suffer from constant headaches and cruel fits of neuralgia. Through excesses of some kind, work or dissipation, a severe illness will come, but recovery is possible. The subject will surely marry. In fact, he will marry twice, as an early widowhood is foretold. One of these unions will be unfortunate. Either of the spouses will be in slight danger of being crippled by a large quadruped, by secret enemies, or by accident. Deep heart sorrows will come to the subject by the early loss, before the age of 30, of a dearly loved one, either wife or husband or sweetheart or friend of either sex. Long journeys will be undertaken over land and sea. They will not be particularly fortunate. As success will come to him comparatively late in life, he will have passed middle life before he tastes a secure peace, bitterly fought for through laborious youth. Many will be his friends, and the kindly favors of the great will not be wanting, but one friend or protector will be the cause of great trouble in the march of success or in a love affair. Enmities will also be numerous, and they will stick to the subject the best part of his life. These will be found even among his daily associates, both social and in business. If the subject visits a foreign country, he will be in great danger of being waylaid, but he will escape scot-free, as all those born under Scorpio are singularly well protected against accidents and attacks. In warm climates, the subjects of Scorpio are lymphatic bilious. In cold latitudes, they are nervous bilious. 9. Sagittarius, the archer. This constellation, Sagittarius, the 9th sign of the zodiac, exerts its influence from November 21st to December 20. It endows those born during this period with an ingenious, strictly honest nature, with a generous heart that does kindly acts without a thought of reward or even gratitude. The ancient magi claimed that the subjects of Sagittarius would prove exceptionally good or radically bad. The mind of the subject is versatile, gentle, easygoing, peaceable, quick to anger and quicker to quiet down, very liberal and impartial in his opinions, and with a gift for rapid assimilation. But it worries a great deal about trifles and shows anxiety out of proportion with the trouble in prospect. The temper does not grow heated except when unjustly attacked, or if placed in the presence of dangerous people. The subject of Sagittarius has an extremely sensitive and nervous disposition, and on that account shows at times an irritability on only skin deep, however, and of short duration. Otherwise, he is habitually cheerful, often like a child. Sagittarius gives simplicity and unconventionality, and an intense love for independence. Its subjects are always on their guard over themselves and over others, although frequently deceived just the same. They love harmony and prefer giving way rather than fight and win. Their extreme timidity prevents them often from asserting their rights, but at times they suddenly conquer it and show that they are no cowards. They are not easily understood, as they keep much to themselves. They are skillful with their hands and are gifted with eloquence. The fine arts and certain branches of science attract them. They love solitude and study by themselves behind locked doors. Their passions are fully under control, and yet they are ardent and numerous. Their opinions are always moderate, rather of an eclectic nature, and frequently changed. The subjects of Sagittarius will be in poor circumstances in infancy and childhood on account of losses their parents will have suffered from. Their personal merits will assist them in building a fortune to which a few legacies will be added later. This sign announces that the subjects will have few brothers and sisters and that they will not be on good terms with them. One of them will die in early death or barely escape. On account of certain family secrets, a serious disagreement will intervene between the subject and his parents, or parents-in-law, or step-parents. He will have but few children, and the eldest one will be a cause of serious worry. In fact, he will not get along with his children, and they will live away from him. This sign foretells 2 marriages, one of which will be of great detriment to the subject's position. The aptitudes as well as the occupations will be of 2 different kinds, interfering greatly with each other and thus hindering success. The subject will have reached middle age before obtaining the position and fortune due to him on account of his talents. He will suffer from frequent minor physical ailments such as sore throat, sick headaches, etc. Until his 30th year, he will meet with frequent falls from high places. Many long journeys, but none by water, will be made necessary by his position and his business. During one of these trips, he will hear of the death of a near relative. Socially, he will meet with success and make many friends, one of whom will prove treacherous and almost bring about the loss of the subject's position. He will have protectors of high degree, among them a person of lofty standing who will be extremely useful to him at a critical moment. His enemies will show themselves bitter and persistent. They will not hesitate to slander him cruelly and try their best to ruin his prosperity in business and in love. This constellation gives to its subjects a purely nervous temperament in southern climates and a nervous bilious disposition in northern latitudes. It promises them a long life. Capricorn, the 10th zodiac sign, the sea goat. This constellation, Capricorn, the 10th sign of the zodiac, exerts its influence from December 21st to January 19th. The persons born under its influence will be self-made men, the builders of their own fortune, and they will know how to remain prosperous. Capricorn also endows its subjects with a strong taste for destroying things, an active disposition, a vigorous body, especially if born between midnight and noon. For if born between noon and midnight, they may have a few physical defects and suffer from accidents. They will show themselves aggressive, warlike, enthusiastic, vehement, and yet inclined to melancholy and saving habits. Their mind will be shrewd, fair, and clever in business matters, and decidedly versatile. Their willpower, although strong, may vary in its object, but will finally succeed in reaching the desired goal. Capricorn renders its subjects rather brusque in their manners, with such decided ways that they will often seem rude. They will be slow to anger and slow to forgive, although they do not harbor mean, revengeful feelings. They are very prudent and circumspect, never making a move without lengthy deliberation. Capricorn endows those born under it with quickness and agility and with a sound eyesight. They will not prove constant in love matters, although this fickleness may be frequently caused by the influence of others, not by an inborn unfaithful disposition. Money will come to the subject through his own talents and efforts, seldom through gifts or inheritance. Brothers and sisters will be numerous but harmful rather than helpful. The Capricorn subject will undertake many short journeys, several of them in consequence of his enemies' intrigues. His father will make him suffer through his violence. His family will be a source of more trouble than satisfaction. They will interfere with his matrimonial projects. In his youth, he will have to face great physical dangers, either wounds in war or severe illnesses. This constellation is not prolific. It is better so, since the children of the subject, if he has any, will ruin his position, or his conduct will ruin the children's lives. Great struggles are foretold, difficult and mysterious intrigues developing during journeys or on account of them. Clerical gentlemen will be mixed in the matter. Until the subject has passed his 42nd year, he will have to undergo many vicissitudes and be ill-treated by relatives. The Capricorn subjects suffer greatly from gout, rheumatism in the joints, especially in the arms and hands. They are troubled also with certain stomach disorders. They may expect bruises due to falls. They will develop a tendency to hypochondria. The marriage question is in their case both serious and complex. The Cancer constellation, whose part it is to preside over alliances between sexes, is particularly fickle and changeable. It is in direct opposition to Capricorn, which it therefore greatly influences, and so the subjects of the latter will meet with serious troubles in their marital relations and will probably marry more than once. Capricorn interferes sadly with long journeys and renders them quite dangerous, either through accidents or through severe illnesses or wounds. There will be more than one Judas Iscariot among the friends of the subject. His position will run great risks through their dark intrigues. A powerful protection will help the subject upward, especially if he has chosen the army or navy as his career. He will meet two kinds of enemies, some in high places, others low down in social rank. His brothers and sisters, at least one of them, will not prove his friends. Finally, he will triumph over all this active or latent ill will, or it will subside of itself. The Capricorn constellation gives its subjects a lymphatic, nervous, physical temperament in southern climes and a lymphatic bilious disposition in northern latitudes. 11. Aquarius, the water bearer. This constellation Aquarius, the 11th sign of the zodiac, exerts its influence from January 20 to February 18th. It endows the persons born under it with a special aptitude for the fine arts and secures popular recognition for their remarkable works. Besides, it gives them a long life and lofty position and makes of them orators and authors. However, they will have none but themselves to blame if they are persecuted or even exiled. They will have graceful, gentle, simple, and straightforward natures. Although violent when driven to wrath, they quiet down quickly and bear no grudge. The willpower will be firm, but lacking in logic, and be apt to rush to its goal unmindful of obstacles over which it will ride rough-shod. The Aquarius subjects will be fond of solitude, laborious and diligent, patient and persevering. They are well endowed for serious studies and for ruling over other people. They are always dreaming of riches and honors. Passionate in all their undertakings, their opinions are ardent, steadfast, and strongly convincing. The property the subject will acquire will not be permanently in his possession, but be taken from him repeatedly through the intrigues of evil-minded people, some of them his pretended friends, who will at times resort to violence to deprive him of his own. Through members of his family he will come to much money, but other blood relations will damage his position and reputation. The Aquarius subjects will be great travelers, sometimes against their will, but these journeys will generally turn out badly and interfere disastrously with the financial prospects and the social position of the subjects. Their health also will suffer on that account. They will have few brothers and sisters, if any. They will receive from them little else but unpleasant, even cruel treatment. On a short trip, the subject will run some serious bodily risk, probably on the water or through firearms or quadrupeds. His father will die of sudden death or meet with unexpected financial reverses. Scientific researches may be the cause of either disaster. Aquarius subjects are often blessed with twins. Death and childbirth is among the probabilities. The infants that will come to them will be delicate in health and hard to raise. Among diseases that will afflict them are troubles of the stomach and the lungs, violent sick headaches, and brain neuralgia. The constellation Leo, in whose resort all unions between sexes are placed, foretells for the Aquarius subjects a marriage with an artist, an actor, or professional musician. The career of this subject will be full of ups and downs, the latter often of the most disheartening kind, but he will always come out a victor, either through his unfaltering efforts or through the opportune assistance of his friends. For his friends will be many and really devoted. People in high position will contribute to the subject's final triumph over his difficulties. But his enemies also will be many and relentless, using both hidden and open, violent means to undo him. He will conquer them through a series of almost providential circumstances. Still, the risks ahead of him are many, mostly due to his own rashness and his ruinous love of change. His friends will often quarrel with him on that account, but Aquarius will bestow upon him public esteem, and the kindly advice of the wise will help him to reach a preeminent position among his fellow citizens. Those born under this constellation have a bilious sanguine temperament in southern climes and the nervous sanguine physical disposition in northern latitudes. 12. Pisces, the fishes. This constellation Pisces, the 12th sign of the zodiac, exerts its influence from February 19 to March 20. Those born under the sign will be the artisans of their own celebrity and will attain it in the realm of the fine arts, sciences, or literature. Popularity will come to them unbidden as a reward of unwearying efforts in developing their natural talents. Pisces endows its subjects with a certain degree of restlessness, with a constant disposition to find fault with the results of their own labor, thus inciting them to further efforts. They are somewhat pessimistic and inclined to alter their views to reach the goal more rapidly. They have a kind of duplex moral nature difficult to fathom, but withal strictly honest, fair in all its dealings, poetical, dreamy, and mystical. The morals of the subject will be pure, owing to his high principles, for he will otherwise be very fond of pleasure. He will be of a proud disposition, and that will keep him away from anything degrading. His will is strong while it lasts, but it will change its objects frequently. He will be mildly despotic without a real tyrannical trait. His prudence will be remarkable. He will be slow to confide in anyone or to make real friends, while always cheerful in his relations toward his fellow beings. He will be witty and somewhat sarcastic in his remarks, but never biting or unpleasant. There will never be any sting in what he says. Slow to move to anger, he will quiet down just as slowly, but will keep no rancor in his heart. He will be quick, vigilant, industrious. This constellation gives those born under it gifts of eloquence in speech and writing, and causes them to love a generous diet, especially when sitting with friends around a well-laden board. It will make them sociable to a marked degree. Their opinions will be ardent, but rather eclectic than one-sided. By his work, by his personal merit, the subject of Pisces will be able to acquire wealth, but he will be kept poor by imprudent alliances or reckless speculations. Generally, the sign foretells two or more professions pursued simultaneously or successively, as the subject will prove remarkably versatile. He will have more sisters and brothers and will lose one of them early in life. His parents had to suffer from serious mishap or losses during his childhood. This 12th constellation generally promises its subjects many travels and plenty of money, although the ownership of the family estate may be contested in law by stepfather or stepmother on account of a second marriage of the subject's surviving parent. He will leave the family home at an early age, while his people will not be great travelers. This constellation announces two marriages for the subject, one with a widow or widower. There will be some misfortune connected with either the first or the second spouse. The other marriage will be a very happy one. Severe accidents will happen in his family. He will undertake many journeys. Their object will be the acquiring of fortune or reputation or both. He will change his residence and maybe his position very frequently. Pisces promises those born under it high public or social positions and the favor of people of lofty standing, probably a liberal profession as one's life work and sometimes two distinct careers. The illnesses peculiar to the sign are fevers and troubles of the heart or eyes. The accidents that may occur will be of trifling nature. Unpleasant dreams will annoy the subject. Besides a few solid relationships, the subject will have very treacherous friends, one in particular whose odious conduct toward him will almost wreck his life. Many will be the envious ones, whose occult or open intrigues will have to be constantly guarded against. They will fail in their evil designs unless the subject's conduct will be such as to give them a serious hold upon his destiny. In southern climes, the subjects of Pisces are by nature lymphatic bilious. In northern latitudes, they are lymphatic nervous. Conclusion of the interpretation of the signs of the zodiac. We are compelled to admit that a hasty perusing of characteristics thus assigned by tradition to the subjects of the various zodiacal signs may reveal a number of discouraging contradictions, at least on the surface, until the student has fairly grasped the onward esoteric significance of these long enumerations of qualities, defects, probable accidents, etc. This unfavorable impression disappears, however, as soon as one takes the trouble to classify these various symptomatic prophecies according to the trinary Kabbalistic divisions or trinocracies, the importance of which cannot be too strongly insisted upon. As I mentioned repeatedly in my large book on palmistry, footnote, the study of palmistry for professional purposes and for advanced pupils, large, 8 volume of 480 pages and 1,251 illustrations, Laird and Lee, Chicago. End of footnote. All possible manifestations of the occult may, or rather must, bear 3 distinct separate meanings, to be used the one or the other, or again the third, according to the elements in the human being which we wish to understand and fathom. We have first the world of the soul, inspiration. Second, the world of the mind, intellect. Third, the world of matter, action. To the first world belong religious and psychological aspirations, the knowledge of good and evil, conscience. To the second world belong imagination at its best or its worst, what is erroneously called genius, the gift of reasoning, of higher eloquence, of poetry, of art, of music, the inventive faculty, the direct influence over one's fellow beings. Finally, to the third world, our passions, our instincts, our love for doing and undoing, the creative or destructive impulses. Now that we have laid down in a few brief words the tripartite rule that must govern our investigations of ourselves or other human beings, be it by astrology, chiromancy, graphology, or phrenology, let the student read over the special characteristics given above that have been from prehistoric times to our days attributed to those born under this or that sign of the zodiac, and he will have no difficulty to find his way through what appeared at first a rather inextricable labyrinth. Should he desire, however, to plunge a little further into the mysteries of the 3 worlds, inasmuch as this classification enters into the scheme of this work, he may read the following pages that will doubtless lighten the wide stretches of Kabbalistic horizon still left dark in this our popular exposition of the particularities of the zodiac subjects. The 4 typical temperaments. Bilious, dark complexion, strong muscles, great vitality, strong passions, tenacity of purpose. Sanguine, brilliant complexion, active mind and body, energy, fickleness of purpose. Nervous, delicate features, rapid circulation of blood, irritability of vital functions and temper, shrewdness. Lymphatic, flabby muscles, dull complexion, sluggish of circulation, emotion and mind. As the pure type is rarely found, a temperament is best described by modifying one of the above terms by another. George Washington might be called sanguine bilious, Victor Hugo nervous sanguine,